Okay, good evening, colleagues, and welcome again to the 59th edition of the Tourism Online Forum series, and here in the November version 2025. And tonight we are very happy for you to join us again, and this online forum hosted by the Center for Advanced Tourism Research, CATS, at Hokkaido University, and this is your host Mo. And it's a real honor for us to have Dr. Jin Ong, who will be sharing his recent research titled Illuminating Collective Memories, Communities and Tourism, Plasmatic Perspective. So we look forward to learning from the insight and finding that what he has been exploring for the recent years. And Professor Chen Yi Ong is a professor of culture and tourism management at the Macau University of Tourism. He has a range of international and regional academic and research experiences in Europe as well as Asian Pacific in his research. And the teaching focus on the cultural and creative in tourism and heritage management. I guess this is a very important topic. A lot of our colleagues has interest. In addition to the research grounded in the field and empirical, so Professor Chen Yi advanced a new technical approach. His name's plasmatic thinking. It's very interesting. Plasmatic thinking is aimed at interrogating the contingent and fleeting the social material environment we live in using and challenges the static and stable view of our material and social worlds. Well, this sounds very difficult to understand, but I'm looking forward. It is stressed the need to eliminate the charges that initiate and hold social and material situations together. And the Chin Sensei serves as the editor-in-chief of the Tourist Study Journal by Saga Publication. A lot of our colleagues probably heard about that. Is the ISSCI journal, and the co-chair for the forthcoming and also the previous Atlas Critical Tourism Study Asian Pacific Conference. As some of our colleagues might remember, is happened this January in Hainan, and the next one will be the March in Kyoto. And the Asian coordinator and the coordinator for the Heritage Tourism and Education Group at the Association of Leisure and Tourism Education Atlas. So a few housekeeping notes before we begin. And first, this lecture will be recorded and later available on our CAS YouTube channel for those who wish to revisit or translate with other language. And also, we encourage you to leave your question, comment in the Q&A box or raise up your hand, talk to Chin Sensei directly. And yes, without further delay, let's welcome Chin Sensei to tonight's lecture. Okay, the floor is yours.
Right. Thank you so much, Professor Chi, for making the introduction and also in giving me the opportunity to speak about plasmatic perspective. So, a bit of a note before I begin. So this um, lecture is not a presentation of one single piece of research. Rather, what I'll be doing today would be to use a series of my past case studies and research to illustrate my current theoretical thinking, which Mo-san has very nicely introduced earlier on, called plasmatic perspective. So, right. So I think what we commonly see in heritage places would be something like what we see on the slide now. Our common imagination of a heritage place or a site that contains something of a heritage content. We tend to see some of these places as being very stable. So this is the Airborne Museum in Oosterbeek, the Netherlands. And what it shows is a collection of objects, stories, and narratives on how the Dutch people, especially in Oosterbeek, how do they actually see their experiences during the Second World War. Um, so you see a very stable situation. And I think for a situation like this, we can actually use uh, a more humanistic approach to studying and understanding this particular heritage place, because um, I think for a place that is stable, we humans, right? We make sense of it. You know, you can also try to see how different layers of human meanings come together, and that makes a very rich and good research. But not all heritage places uh, are stable. There are many heritage places where you see contesting interpretations. There's also places where, as a result of the contestations or as a result of changes in our natural world or social worlds, that resulted in reconfigurations, disruptions at these places. So this is Camp Westerbork, also from the Netherlands. Um, this is a former camp during the very, very dark periods of the uh, Nazi occupation of the Netherlands. Um, very dark histories and heritage, but within this site lies something that illustrates what I want to be telling you about today, which will be this. So this is a particular band. I think it's band number 57, if I don't remember wrongly. So what happens is, um, physically, it looks like a very ordinary band during the time of the Nazi occupation. It does have some cultural significance. The fact that they say Anne Frank used to work there, right, during the Nazi occupation. But what drove it into the limelight, into the attention of the public within the Netherlands some years ago, was not as a result of this layering of human imaginations or senses of place or other humanistic notions. What propelled it into collective imagination, and maybe to a certain extent, re-bringing the collective memories together, was a fire. So a fire broke out, which burned the barn down. What you see in this picture is actually a partial reconstruction of the band with illustration, a picture placed beside it. So, so the fire itself actually, destroyed the actual physicality of the band, so creating an absence. But the absence, very ironically, then creates a presence within the collective imagination and the collective memory for this particular band. So what I'm trying to stress here is that maybe, there is a scope for a more humanistic understanding of heritage places, of course, how human beings make sense of things. But perhaps there's also a scope for, perhaps it's also good to allow us to maybe move away from humanistic, human-centered approaches to heritage, and to take a more social material perspective in which we also understand and try to understand the agencies and the potentialities of non-human and also non-living things in terms of these things affecting how our heritage places actually operate. Um, so to do that, um, I bring in my own theoretical approach, the plasmatic perspective, to reconceptualize the materialities and specialities of heritage. I hope by doing this, we can look at how collective memories is actually the driving force behind the making of communities and tourism within heritage. Yeah. Um, Specifically, I want to show you how two key concepts within plasmatic perspective, illuminations and transitions are helpful in allowing us to understand the instability of heritage places, and through that, in investigation into the instability, uh, understand how we can actually deal with issues of silencing of communities and narratives, and how dominant power actually works within heritage places. Yeah. So some of us who perhaps are less familiar with metaphors from physics might be asking, what exactly is a plasma? Um, I have a little video here that perhaps can illustrate this. So, a small little toy I bought from the Guangzhou Science Museum. Um, my son thought that I bought it for him, but no, I bought it for myself because I love this sort of things, and also because I think that is good for illustrations in terms of talking about what a plasma is. Um, so you do see plasmas in our everyday life. I'll give you more examples later, right? But what we want to be doing here very much is that that through the small little video I show you just now, that plasmas actually lights up, and it looks like that gaseous like fluid like thing within that crystal ball. Yeah, it's actually ionized gases within that ball. And what kept it going was actually electrical charges in the middle of the glass ball, right? So what I want to do here would be to say that everyday places are actually configured into heritage places endorsed by authorities through such illumination powered by collective memory. So key to this type of process is a kind of a charging that happens, right? There's electricity that flows through, which creates that kind of charging, which then connects the plasmas. The plasmas exist because of the electricity and the charges that happens. Um, so once you take away the charges, the plasmas actually disappear. So I see this as a very good metaphor for talking about how unstable, how contingent the situations that we have in our physical and social worlds are, right? And I also hope that the illumination, right, the fact that plasmas do light up is useful in showing us that um, in the way we interpret our world, the way that we see our world, um, there are some things that come to our attention more. There are things which societies pay attention more to. So this is akin to things lighting up, right? And there are some things which societies, communities do not talk so much about, or um, tries to hide. Yeah. So these are the things that are not illuminated. Things are not lighted up, right? Of course, I'm not pioneering in terms of using uh, physical or physics metaphors. Um, Sociology has always been about metaphors, right? So there are many metaphors that sociology and the social sciences have drawn from the physical sciences. So say, for instance, from Marx and Engels, we know that society can be seen as solids, right? And the key, right, for social science and sociology would be to eradicate and to replace the failing structures. Yeah, and then we also have scholars who tell us that society can be imagined as liquids because doing that allows us to overcome the problems of seeing them as structures because uh, some some of our societal processes are actually very fluid and also uncertain. Yeah. Um, some of us may be familiar with networks and assemblages, right? The more postmodern approaches that looks at how um, social, technical, material worlds come together. So I would say the approach I'm suggesting that I'm talking about tonight uh, is situated within um this genre of networks and assemblages. It is a approach that is within the new materialism uh, a perspective, right? Um, but what I try to do is to put forward a different theoretical understanding for this. So plasmas are actually the fourth state of matter, and it consists largely of charged particles, electrons, and ions. Yeah. So instead of solids, liquid, or gas, I've opted to talk about the fourth fundamental state of matter. Yeah, plasmas. So these are the common plasmas that you see in your everyday life. So on the left, good times, that's neon light. It kind of conjures imaginations of uh, people or thing or processes that are very stable, right? And then we also have the very delightful plasma balls that you generally see in science centers or science museums. Um, and then on your right hand side, you see lightnings, right? Lightnings are actually plasmas as well, right? The charging that happens in the sky, right? And the grounding that happens in the ground when the lightning hits, right? Um, is a plasmatic configuration, right? The what is lighted, right, is actually charged ions. So if we apply this metaphor to our social and material world, right? This requires a bit of imagination, of course, right? Um, and I think to do this is not because I want all of us to be hallucinating, to be imagining things for the wrong reasons, but it is to maybe allow us to be a bit more sensitive to the fact that um, the that we shouldn't take for granted that heritage places are um, taken for grantedly stable. Yeah. It allows us, if we look at it in a plasmatic way, to observe the contingencies, the disruptions, and the transitions more vividly. Yeah. So, so what can be a heritage plasma, right? So instead of conceptualizing our heritage places as solid buildings or layers of urban fabric or containers uh, or sensors of place, right? I suggest that we think of them as plasmas, yeah, where you can have clouds of ions that symbolizes or signifies buildings, peoples, and species, right? So if you do it like this, the good thing will be that you will no longer be caught in this uh, common bind that heritage people may have, which is that, how do you separate what is culture, what is nature, right? Um, the heritage plasma should also be seen uh, for their potentialities. That means we should always be thinking we should always think about how the things are not settled and that peoples and objects within heritage places have their potential. So we all know of how, suddenly particular statues or particular sculptures, particular paintings may become viral as a result of certain occurrences, right? So I talk about a fire that made a band uh, viral earlier on, right? Uh, you know of other examples where certain um, accidents or certain unexpected situations will propel certain heritage objects into the limelight. Yeah, so I think that is the kind of agencies and potentialities that I'm talking about, and of course, um, policies and other human-directed things, of course, do bring about the potentialities too. Yeah. So here we want a more decentered way of looking at the heritage places, right? One that is not fully human driven, right? One that is distributing the agency more. So if I can have one illustration about how to actually do this, it will be to look at Macau's World Heritage Tourism. Yeah. So I've kind of um, used an image of plasma ball from a typical science center, right? And to put and to label it. Yeah. So if you look at this, the way I've imagined it would be that what drives the plasma, what drives the World Heritage Tourism in Macau are the capitalistic motivations. So the center of it, the electrode that sends out the charges, are capitalistic motivations. The desire for profits, right? Profit accumulation, that is the thing that's driving it. And pulling everything together, right? You see we have UNESCO, which comes in as an organization with its more utopian, idealistic visions, right? On the other end, you also have casinos. You also have local travel agencies. You have tourists. You have the infrastructure. You have the state policies. You have the tour guides. You have the various heritage objects. All this should come together, driven by the motivations to form heritage plasma or Macau World Heritage Plasma. So there is so this particular perspective, right, is built on a more general paradigm of new materialism, which means that there are parallels to some of these things. And the reason why I want to be, say, for instance, talking about uh, plasmatic thinking is that there are, I think, weaknesses in our existing theories. So, say for instance, when we think about what powers social processes in communities, in tourism, in heritage, um, there is this is a common critique. All right, so I'm not original in my critique for this. So the actor network theory has been said to be relatively silent on motivation and power. Right, there's a lot of talk about how things gets enrolled together and what enacts a particular actor network, but not too much is said about power. Yeah, and Deleuze and Guattari's notions of desires as the main driver assemblage, I think, has a slight linguistic problems because the word desire in English, right? I mean, of course, they don't write in English originally. It's a problem of translation, I feel, right? The word desire have different types of meanings within the English language, which I feel doesn't describe things very well. But it's not just the uh, mere act of trying to, figure something out that is more linguistically pleasant, that motivated my thinking or my this my motivation to talk about plasmatic thinking and to kind of position it as a theory. But it's also the whole idea that plasmas describes things better. It's more direct. We can be talking about charging and how charging allows the plasma to be formed, right? And when the charges disappear, the plasmas actually disappears as well. The other part of it would be that I feel that it allows me to talk about the silence and the articulated within societies, within communities, better because plasmas do light up, right? So the lighted up aspect of things allows us to understand that, or very vividly, like illustrate that certain things are brightened up, certain things are viral, certain things are being given attention to, whereas the things that's not lighted up, then would be things that are marginalized, not privileged, or hidden. So this is another illustration of how a plasma ball type plasma can look like when we use it as a metaphor for the society or the world that we live in, right? In the middle of it, we have um, the electrodes that's powering the plasma, right? And the plasmas that are sent out that reaches and is grounded at the glass surface of the glass ball are various technologies, objects, and humans that are in this particular thing, in this case, the World Heritage Tourism. And if I can go on a bit more about the charges, it would be that, I do not want to just talk about, okay, this thing is connected to this thing pulls this thing together, and that's it, right? I think the point about doing theory is not just to summarize or model society or the world that we live in, but it's also to help bring out some of the critiques and to flag out some of the consequences, especially the negative ones, that we are seeing as a result of certain processes within society. So charges and consequences, right? So I want to use plasmatic thinking to help us understand some of these consequences of some of these processes that we see, right? So, and to do this, I think charges is a good metaphor, because within plasmatic thinking, right, we can be talking about the speed and intensity of how a plasma actually forms. So the lightning, for instance, right, can be a good metaphor for thinking about how some processes are very impactful. Uh, Say, for instance, viral pandemics, right? They come very fast, and they have very severe consequences, right? But there are also um, plasmatic configurations that are more stable, that even if they light up, they may get forgotten because their illumination is so common or so stable, and that would be uh, our neon lights, right? Uh, the neon lights may catch our attention the very first time we see it, but as we are in the environment where there's a lot of neon lights, our senses would eventually dull to them, right? We will not notice them so much anymore. Yeah. And say, for instance, the plasma ball in the science museums, right? Those would be the ones that perhaps illustrate processes that were there as spectacles, right? Especially in tourism, you'll see a lot of tourist stagings, which are spectacles in which you can actually, capture attention of tourists. And what are the consequences of this varying uh, configurations of plasmas, right? So I think this is what I hope to be able to do with this metaphors. Another part of it would be the transitions, right? So I think um, I do not want to just talk about how things come together, right? To line them up as static diagrams, but what is key, right, is to allow us to use plasmatic thinking to think about how we get from one heritage configuration. That means, say, for instance, the heritage site used to be an old archaeological site, right? And then how this archaeological site eventually turns into something that is a bit like a theme park, for instance, right? So the whole transition will be something that plasmatic thinking is interested in, right? Interested in understanding, interested in examining, and also interested in the critiquing, right? The changes, yeah. Um, so part of that vocabulary, right? Theoretically, to try to understand this would be to think about the kinds of charging and recharging that can take place, right? What powers that kind of charges in the past, right? And what are the new charges that powers the changes that we see in some of these heritage places. Yeah. Um, so here I give the example of Macau's World Heritage, right? Uh, it was made a UNESCO World Heritage Site on 15th July 2005. Yeah. And as a result of that, Macau's heritage places, right, takes a recharging, because before that, Macau's heritage places do not get a global attention, right? We also do not get so much um, global international expertise. But as a result of the listing on the UNESCO World Heritage Site, you see a certain reconfiguration happening, right? And if we were to study this using plasmatic perspective, that recharging, that transition would be something that we want to be looking at, right? How, say, for instance, the old charges, right, is one that is centered more on a local sense of place, right? Before 2005, where Macau was very, very sleepy, to one that is, after 2005, powered by a mix of World Heritage conservation motivations. A lot of experts, ICOMOS, IUCN people, they will come in to talk about how we should be conserving this place. And and along this, right, we also have the tourism companies who are, of course, profit seeking, right, and they would uh, try to package a lot of World Heritage related experiences. Yeah. Right. Here I use another Macau example. Right. So here this is the Lai Chi Wan traditional shipyard, where initially um, it was a very local heritage place that's gradually been forgotten. Right. So it's what you see at the bottom was the heydays when they were still building very large fishing ship. Um, and later it gets neglected, it gets forgotten. Um, but um, in recent years, you see a kind of recharging that takes place that allows the uh, site to transition from a forgotten local heritage place to one that is being given attention, but is in a situation where a lot of its more charismatic physical heritage uh, has eroded, right? But still, these objects are able to evoke collective memories and are able to power a heritage plasma. But this heritage plasma itself is being um, contested by new configurations. So this is a new configuration that we see today, where a shipyard museum was built beside the actual site of the museums that are still standing, actual site of the shipyards that were still standing. Um, and of course, this is done with the good intention of memorializing the traditional shipyard heritage. Yeah, but it also is powered by other motivations. So, say for instance, um, it is not a pure heritage place, in my view. Um, I mean, the new iteration, the new transitions, they had wanted to make this a family leisure sport. There were plans to actually build an ice skating rink and also an urban farm uh, at the site of this former shipyards. Right. So I think this is a situation where we see that complexity of motivations from different stakeholders with regards to what the heritage site can be, right? And I think um, looking at the ways in which it transitions, right, from a forgotten local heritage place to one that is being given attention uh, f- uh, by by stakeholders like the government and also the casino industry in this case. Um, you can see how uh, heritage places are actually not that straightforward and simple, right? Um, Complex in the way where simply trying to understand the layers of human meanings. I think that if you yeah, it's something that that would not be able to capture perfectly. Yeah. Yeah, so sites of memories are seldom straightforward and simple. Yeah, just reiterating this point again, right? So this is pictures to show you um, our fieldwork experiences. So this is a group of uh, us doing field work in the Westerbork. But the case I want to talk about here is not the Westerbork case. I've spoken about it earlier on, but one single hotel, the Lloyd Hotel. So this is a hotel that really, this is a site, I would say, that really goes through that series of transitions uh, powered by different motivations, which makes it really interesting to study, and which I also feel brings out uh, the value of plasmatic thinking very well. So this hotel was originally built for housing fee-paying passengers who are traveling between Europe and uh, South America. It's a transshipment hotel, yeah. And the hotel is important for their big migration between the two continents, right? And the hotel at that time was really spectacular because it was a big building and it houses quarantine and medical check facilities and even a small clinic, a small hospital ward, right? It was a mix of surveillance, custody, and also care, right? It was luxurious actually because of the warm showers and hot meals. But of course, later on when the passengers actually board the ships, the conditions for the third class passengers were actually not so good. So this illustrates what happens in the building at that time, and also uh, one or two showing the passengers boarding the ship. Yeah. So this is the Lloyd Hotel. Yeah, the hotel building. The building on your left is the quarantined building, and the building in the more of a background. Yeah, that one is the Lloyd Hotel building itself. Yeah, and on your right hand side you see uh the floor plan of the hotel, right? Which I hope I mean you can't it's not of very great resolution, but I think you can make out that is actually a pretty big building. Yeah. So the Lloyd Hotel, let me talk to the about the Lloyd Hotel. Yeah, so the Lloyd Hotel actually went on into other transformations. So after it was a transshipment hotel, the business didn't sustain, and um, the company that funded it bankrupted, and the hotel was then used during the Nazi occupation as a as a as a detention center for people that the Nazi forces do not think are good people. Later, it was then used as a prison by the Dutch government uh, in modern Dutch government times. And after that, made a juvenile detention center. And later on, it was kind of occupied by squatters and a bunch of artists. And in its present iteration, its final today's transition, right? Um, it is a boutique hotel with uh, varying pricing, different types of rooms, a good selection, and also art facilities and meeting rooms. So it's today a very nice space. Um, so this particular building, I think, if we look at it from a plasmatic thinking perspective, what you can see is how it was originally built using um the uh, money of the transshipment company, right? The capitalistic motivations are the charges that powered the original uh, configuration, and how later on new charges comes in, right? Um, to actually take it into different iterations, yeah, including during the Nazi occupation time, right, the desire to uh, detain people of differing political ideals, right? Um, Within that, and also later on by the Dutch government in terms of uh, caring for and also reforming people who have fallen out of the usual norms within societies. Yeah. Then I bring you to both Vietnam and Indonesia. Yeah. So Camp Galang is actually uh, a Vietnamese refugee camp uh, in Indonesia on the island of Galang uh, within the Riau Peninsula, very close to Singapore. So what happens is it houses the boat people or the refugees during the Vietnam War. Um, it is significant because it was one of the two largest camps in Southeast Asia. Yeah. Um, but it was closed in the late 1990s and converted into a heritage tourism attraction. It's kind of an accidental conversion, actually, right? And it happens because um, Batam and Riau Islands industrialization did not really take off, and the industrial estate company that was put in charge of the camp after the last refugees left, thought that this place could be good for tourism because they started to see people visiting this place, right? Um, right. And if I can bring you to Singapore, right, we also have one refugee camp in Singapore. Um, the thing with this one is that it actually happened in reality, right? But it was kind of written off in the official discourse, right? Um, People do not remember that this actually happened, right? And politicians rarely mention it. Um, so what happens is this is actually a very happy camp. It's a very happy camp because uh, it's a little special. This camp only takes in people who have been guaranteed a place elsewhere. So say, for example, Canada, the United States, or somewhere in Europe, right? So they usually stay no more than 3 months in Singapore in this Hawkins Road camp before they get sent away, right? So if we were to be thinking about collective memories, and if we were to be thinking about how we can use plasmatic thinking to be understanding this, it would be that um, there were, perhaps when the camp was actually in operation, right, real humanitarian motivations that powers the operation of the camp and how it operates. Um, but later on, when the camp was no longer functioning as a camp, and that the Singapore government do not see political advantages in remembering this part of the past, right? Uh, New motivations, right? Charges this configuration, and it was eventually uh, removed. Yeah, and uh, initially in its first iterations, the camp was actually uh, a bright part of Singapore's life. I mean, the refugees actually plays football games with other school children in other Singapore schools, right? It was visible, it was illuminated, it was there, right? But in this research that I did with my young colleague, Austin Ma, what we saw was that today, within the political discourse, this particular Hawkins Road camp is no longer lighted up. It was actually dim. It's actually hidden away in the political imagination and the collective memories of most Singaporeans. Yeah. And then this one comes from that Gelang camp also, right? So this is some illustrations of some of the uh, kind of images that you can associate with the camp itself, right? Some of the dark aspects of it. Yeah. Here is another site that is forgotten. The lunatic asylum in Singapore, right? So I want to show you this to kind of illustrate the fact that societies actually are quite forgetful. Right? They routinely forget and rediscover their past. Yeah, not just the carceral spaces or spaces where we lock people up, but I think in general. Yeah, so say for instance, um, Singapore has this particular 19th century mental health facility, and it was rediscovered. Yeah. Um, So yes, so this is how it kind of looks like when it was kind of covered with the vegetation and so on. Yeah, it was forgotten for more than a century, right? And then later on, and he has, yeah, and it's really old. I mean, the perimeter wall is 127 uh, year old, right? And the uh, building actually stands uh, unnoticed, right, in the heart of a very big public hospital in Singapore, the Singapore General Hospital. Right? And it's actually not small because it used to be uh, a 300 bed facility where there's 250 male patients and 50 female patients. So somebody rediscovered it 11 years ago while he was trekking, right? So he saw the wall, right? And he kind of compared it with maps from the archive, right? Historical maps, and then starts to speculate and research further, right? So I think this is a case where, of course, it's a human being on the move that discovered it. But I also feel that in a situation like this, the lingering materialities, right, the physical walls that still stand, were of course initially forgotten, but now uh, reignited, right? You encountered it again. The physicality kind of triggers the whole attention around it, right? Making it kind of you know attention grabbing at one time. Yeah, yeah. So this I think is uh illustration of a potential illumination and articulation where after discovery, you see that there is a intention to actually remember this place, to actually tell people that this place actually existed in the past, that is part of our collective memory, right, where the National Heritage Board uh, of Singapore, right, together with the hospital that it was in, the Singapore General Hospital, started to do research of about the asylum and why it's significant, right, and tries to work on creating, right, commemorative uh, materials, yeah, for this place. Right. So I think with the idea of, um, is this rediscovery, right? And that the rediscovery prompted ideas of preservation and commemoration of a space like this. I think um, it do brings forward, this idea that heritage places are actually not that simple or stable, right? You see many iterations. They can get forgotten, they can get rediscovered, and after they get rediscovered, some may of course continue to be ignored, but those that society sees as being relevant, fitting of their narratives, in the plasmatic sense, right, we talk about it that way, then this will be the sites that actually gets illuminated again, right, um, lighted up, yeah, and then forming a kind of heritage site of its own. So these are some pictures. Apologies that my slides are in a mess. So these are some pictures of the Galang camp that I talked about earlier on, right? So these are actually the okay. What you see on the left were the reconstructions of not the barracks or the dormitories of the refugees, but these were the uh, Red Cross hospital wards within the camp, and that camp is really really huge. And on the right hand side, you see the youth center, which is like a little community center where the youths can come in to interact, socialize, and interact and to socialize. This is a reconstructed barrack. Yeah, you can't see it from this angle, but how the configuration is like, you see a kind of a kitchen, partially outdoor, uh, at the ground floor, and then the living and sleeping quarters is basically one floor up. Yeah. This is where most visitors to this Galang camp would go to these days, right? Just to illustrate, it used to be the school building within the within the camp where refugees actually go there for their language classes, like English language, French, uh, languages that their intended or would be uh, receiving countries will be using. On top of languages, they also learned skills, carpentry, leather work are key things that they learn in this space. But today, this space is used like a visitor center where visitors will get to learn about the times and the memory and the life of the refugees living in this camp. Yep. So this is the outside view of the school itself on the left hand side. It's called a museum today. Yeah. And the right hand side, you see if you can if you have very sharp eyes, you will see bars on the uh, rooms uh, on the ground floor. Right. So these are actually the prison cells of the camp. Right. So within the camps, you do see crime being enacted and so on. So the ones who are caught, right, would be put inside this cells. Yeah. So around the camps, you see various religious installations, and the right hand side is a recreation of the boats that they use to get to Galang from Vietnam. The UNHCR office, which has become very derelict, right? And then a small little shrine in front of a tree. So these are further details of the different iterations of the Galang camp, which I think I would, in the interest of time, just skip this. I think we have mentioned it already. Yeah. Okay. Right. So if I can just bring everyone and this to the conclusion of this lecture, it will be that what I want to impress upon you today is uh, a different way to look at heritage places, a different theoretical way at looking at heritage places, and this form of um thinking is built on the paradigms of new materialism, which is an approach that tries to bring in um, not just humans, but also non-humans and also non-living things uh, within our consideration of potentialities and agencies. That means we do believe that um, viruses, earthquakes, things that are not human actually are driving forces of changes and disruptions in our everyday lives, right? And of course, theories exist in this genre, actor network theory and assemblage. But I think in this uh, lecture, I try to impress upon you that there's a way to actually build on this existing theories to create something new called plasmatic thinking, which I feel through its attention on transitions and also illumination, the idea that certain things receive more attention as a result of um, the main charges or the main motivations that powers the plasmas coming together, right? Um, the illumination denotes the dominant powers and the workings of the dominant powers, whereas uh, the darkness, right, and the non-illumination will signal our attention to the neglected, the marginalized, or the hidden. Yeah. So I want to impress upon you that is useful to use this to understand heritage places, because heritage places are very often not so straightforward. They do go through different transitions, right? Attaining different iterations, right? Different plasmatic configurations, I call them. Yeah. So yeah, with this, I hope that we can understand our heritage places better, right? And that we have a new materialistic kind of a approach that also attends to the power politics of our collective memories, right? With that, I hand you back to our good moderator, Professor Chi Meng. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. This is very new and a very interesting topic. I think it's a very dynamic to think about it. It looks like a very abstract theory, like an indicator for me. I mean, in a sense, you also mentioned the actor network theory with a human and non-human side, as well as you mentioned about the deluxe, is really give it a lot of philosophical layer of this theory. So I'm very encouraging the people here today to ask questions because I also do live stream this lecture on Facebook. Some scholar and professor ask me they are watching from Facebook as well. So okay, we have seems like we have two questions, one from Q&A, one from
Hmm.
chat. So I will
Right.
go with the right order. So first is Joseph Tang, and plasma is by far the least common state of matter on Earth, in contrast to it being the most common in the universe. In other words, naturally occurring plasma is rare on Earth, but humans create plasma we need for various purposes, using high energy processes. How might this energy consuming aspect of plasma creation on Earth feather in your theory concept of plasmatic thinking?
Right. Okay. Very, very interesting. I think,
Hmm.
yeah, I've not thought about this because I've thought I've sought to use the metaphor, right, provided by plasma
Hmm.
to actually so I'll be looking within the plasma, right, to kind of superimpose it onto a real social material situation, right. But I think what Joseph is doing here, I think is a case of thinking out of the box, right, where you are looking out of the metaphor itself to look in. So I think um, we definitely can look at some of these things. Although I do not know whether in terms of the whole uh, uh, kind of integrity of theoretical construct, whether it's good to jump out, and to look in again, because one of the things that we need to always do, which is a reminder to self, because is that we shouldn't be making things overly complicated, right? But this is a very, very good suggestion. I would think over this carefully, because there might be a uh, good use for jumping out of the metaphor itself to look in, right? The idea that actually we are consuming a lot of energy to actually create things for certain uh, users that may or may not be good, right? I mean, one immediate parallel I can see already, probably maybe Joseph is thinking about this, which is that we are today using a lot of power, right, to for our AI, right? So all these things, I think we should be critical about these things, but whether or not we can integrate that into the theory itself, and whether it's useful to be doing it, I think I will require more thought. But thanks, Joseph, for this suggestion and this question. Yeah.
Yeah, another question from our regular guest from APU about Yanni, but probably I should allow you to ask this by yourself because Professor Chen will visit your university at early March to give a keynote. So probably you
Right,
can
right.
meet him in person. Is that
Yeah.
okay, Yanni? Uh, you can basically join our conversation if you want. Sorry,
Oh,
suddenly I drop you to the stage.
Yeah, it would be good to
hello.
hear you.
Uh,
Yeah, hi, hi,
but
hi, hi, Yanni.
but I already graduate, so you might be
Okay.
not able to meet me.
Ah, I see.
Oh,
Yeah,
right,
I
right,
already
right.
back to Bali, so
Yes, yes, yes.
yeah.
Mm,
Hello, Professor Chen.
Yeah, hi,
Um,
hi, hi.
and hello, Professor Mo as well. And
Mm,
yeah, like I wrote in the chat,
mm,
so
mm,
I was research about unwritten rules in the Shinto shrine in
mm.
Kyushu area in
Right.
Japan.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I found that there is a dilemma between the accommodating the international tourists and protecting the sanctity of the shrine. So
Mm,
I wonder if the plasmatic thinking can help us understand
mm,
how the shrine custodian
mm,
navigate this dilemma. And
mm,
the second question, if could this
mm,
framework help explain how these unwritten rules evolved uh, and negotiated by a custodian in response to increasing international tourism? Because,
mm,
well, unwritten rules is
mm,
not really written anywhere.
mm,
It passed
mm,
from generation to
mm,
generation, so it might be a bit difficult to
mm, mm,
communicate it with to the
mm, mm,
international
mm.
tourists.
Okay, good. Yeah, thanks, Yanni, for the questions. I think my first response would be that um, there might be some uses for it, but also I think plasmatic thinking is not something that is suitable for um, every issue. I think that applies for all kinds of theories, right? You use it in a situation where it's most useful for like tools, right? So you use a fork and spoon for Western meals. You use a chopstick to eat a Chinese or some Asian meals. Yeah. Um, uh, More specifically, right? I would say that for your first question on the shrine custodians and the dilemma between religious kind of conservation and faith, and also accommodating international tourists, right? I would say um, if you want to look at this, I think it's possible. Um, but look at situate this um, situate your study on disruptions and changes. So, is there a particular situation where a big change, right, has happened at the shrine or within the faith or within the international tourism? And so you use that big change, right, to open up the processes involved, and that will be how plasmatic thinking can help, right? So if say for instance you have a particular situation where a particular tourism policy um, has resulted in a sudden change of the lifestyles or the work of the shrine custodians or the requirements, then that will be it will be possible to use plasmatic thinking for something like this. But if you veer towards, and I think that would be a little bit of question two already. If you are thinking about um, things that are more social psychological, that means how the tourist or how the custodian thinks and how that thinking affects the things, their behaviors and what they do. If you are going in that realm, then plasmatic thinking would not be applicable, because it's not the theory doesn't look at the interface between the psychology of a person and the behaviors or the norms. Yeah. Okay. Right. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, thank you, Professor.
Right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Yanni, for your question. Do we have other questions? if no, I will ask one question. So especially for our young PhD students, do you have any suggestions how to adapt this kind of thinking for their future research? How to apply this kind of thinking
Ah,
into
mm, mm,
methods or
mm, mm.
yeah, any suggestion for that? Please.
I would say if young PhD students, if you are very interested in postmodern theories, if you are somebody who have already read up about actor networks, assemblage and so on, then it could be interesting for you to engage with what I said today, right? And if you are doing that, then like the previous question, the way to use this would be to locate it on a particular uh, change or potential change or particular uh, charismatic objects. So if you say, for instance, a particular sculpture, a
Mm,
statue that you feel, has some kind of effect on people, right? Like we have some statues where people will be so attracted to, they'll come over, right? They'll commemorate certain things. So if you have um, things like this, then it could be the starting point, right? To use this. Um, yeah, that would be yeah, my answer. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, let's wait. If no other question coming in, we can
Mm,
finish tonight's session. And
yeah.
yeah, but if you have a question or if you wish to ask
Mm, mm,
in person, please raise up your hand. Mm. Don't be shy, please.
mm.
Mm.
Yeah. If not, allow me to
Mm.
also say something to clarify a
Oh,
little
please,
bit, right?
please.
So I think in the webinar chat, Mo San has shared some of my reading. So the first one on plasmatic thinking, yeah, that one will be about
Ah.
this, and some of the other papers, they may not be written using this particular theoretical framing. Uh, so, say for instance, the other works on the Vietnamese refugee camps, I actually use Foucauldian theories and concepts to write this in the first time. But what I did today in my presentation is to relook these cases, rethink these cases using my new theory, my new conceptualization, my new ideas. Uh, yeah, so that's a clarification. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thanks, Mo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm opening and watch a little bit. That's
Yes.
looking forward to
Ah,
read it.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. If no other question come in, maybe let's go back, enjoy our evening. How about that?
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, thanks.
There is
Okay, there's
unfortunately will not be able to meet you in person. I still feel fulfilling my scholarship of trying to stay in my home country at least 2 years after graduate. Hopefully, we'll meet you later in the future. Of course, you will. I think this March, Professor Chin will visit
yes.
you, and later we have
Mm-hmm.
that conference, Atlas
Right.
Critical Tourism Study Asian Pacific in the
Mm.
Ritsumeikan University in Kyoto. And next year, Chin Sensei will host this conference again in January in Macau, right? If I remember
Yeah, probably.
right.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
so there is a
Yeah.
plenty of a chance we can meet again.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Jay.
Yeah.
So it's a really wonderful opportunity for you to share your tourism and community related topic through this opportunity. And looking forward to meet you in March in Japan in person.
Yeah. Thank you, Mo
Yeah.
San. And
Okay.
thanks everyone for bearing with me today. Yep.
Yeah.
Thank
Thanks
you. Bye
everyone.
bye.
Have a
And
great evening. See you.
yeah, yeah. See you. Bye.